Did you honestly think I was going to keep quiet? I did. I tried. I tried to keep quiet today. Going back to the recent current events, going back to a particular gentleman that you can't say his name because all hell breaks loose in the world. I'm reading the book of Nehemiah, and this book is about him. This book's about him. Nehemiah was an average guy. He was a cupbearer. He was a cupbearer. He had no important job. He tasted the food for the king. Yet God put a burden on his heart for his people. We are his people. This is his nation. And if you have the opportunity, I would suggest you read the story of Nehemiah. Blessed be your glorious name, and may it be exalted above all blessing and praise. You alone are the Lord. You made the heavens, even the highest heavens, all their starry hosts. And he goes on to say, you are the Lord God who chose Abraham and brought him out of Ur and Chaldean. You found his heart faithful to you, and you made a covenant with him to give his descendants the land. This is our land. This land was given to us. This land was inherited by our ancestors. This land was fought for. This land was bled for. This land was blessed. This land right now is in exile because of the way we're behaving, because of our sinfulness. But you heard it. God is faithful, man, and he keeps his promises. He keeps his promises. It says here, you saw the suffering of our ancestors in Egypt. You heard their cry at the Red Sea. You sent signs and wonders against the Pharaoh. Wasn't the Pharaoh in DC? Right? Think about that, right? An oppressor, right? Take from the people, enslave the people, break the people down, make them work like dogs and slaves and give them nothing in return. All the people of the land, and you knew how arrogantly the leaders treated them. You made a name for yourself, which remains today. And it's talking about the Lord, how he made a name for himself. He divided the sea before them, so they passed through on dry ground. And then he hurled his pursuers into the depths like a stone in the mighty waters. And it's talking about the Egyptians. After the Egyptians released them, deep down in their hearts they were lying, and they wanted to pull them back into slavery. Well, God said, you know what? I'm going to put an end to you guys once and for all. So he made a way of escape for them, and then not only that, he wiped them out. He destroyed the enemy, which is amazing to me because God does this all throughout history. He does it all throughout history. Look at the Revolutionary War. Untrained colonists, farmers, teachers and preachers and normal everyday citizens took on the greatest army in the world and won. And why did they win, and how did they win? They won under God's divine providence. They won because they knew that in order to win, in order to develop this nation, in order to survive, they needed God's divine providence in everything that they did. That's what our forefathers recommended last night at the Republican Convention. You heard that priest mention one of Washington's prayers when he took office. So you came down on Mount Sinai, you spoke from heaven, you gave them regulations and laws, just and right, the decrees and commands of God. You made known to men your holy laws. In their hunger, you gave them bread from heaven, and in their thirst, you brought them water from the rock. You told them to go in and take possession of the land you had sworn with uplifted hand to give them. Now here's us. Our ancestors became arrogant, stiff-necked, and they did not obey your commands. Well, that's most American people, but that's our leadership. Think about what our leadership is putting out there, what it's putting forth. They refused to listen and failed to remember the miracles you performed among them. They became stiff-necked, and in their rebellion appointed a leader, here it is, appointed a leader in order to return to their slavery. So God gave them the good. God gave the United States good. He gave us prosperity. He gave us blessing. He gave us peace. He delivered us out of oppression. Revolutionary War, he delivered us out of that. We've gone and had a great time here in this country, a great couple of 100 years of blessing and prosperity because we honored and followed him. And then we turned our backs on him. And now look at the condition and state we're in. So Nehemiah, read this book, man. Read the book of Nehemiah. Understand this book. And if you look throughout the creation of the world till now, because of your great compassion, you did not abandon them in the wilderness. By day you led them and guided them a path, pillar of fire at night. You gave your good spirit to instruct them, to not withhold manna from them. They needed everything, and God provided everything that they needed. Now Nehemiah, he was a simple man, but he was given the burden. He was given the burden for God's chosen people. We are God's chosen people here in this nation, whether you realize that or not. And he was given a burden. And it's amazing what he did. You ready for this? He built the wall. That's right. The city had been under siege, under attack. The walls had been torn down. Sound familiar? Everybody and every enemy of God's people was coming against them, was taking their stuff, was robbing them, was beating them up. There was no protection, and he built the wall. A simple man, cupbearer, receives a burden of the Lord for the people. I mean, this book of Nehemiah sounds just like what we're living today, and when we can change that name, if you follow my saying, I'm going to change it but if you look here, this is encouraging and it's inspiring because somebody has a burden for us. Somebody's been given a burden on his heart for us. Somebody that didn't need to step up to the plate. Somebody that doesn't need to do this did it. And now we see the true reason. Now we see the true heart. Now we see the true colors. We see who this person is for what they are. They are a mighty, brave leader under the hand of God. There's no doubt about that. And, Nehemiah not only went to build the wall, but he was mocked. Does that sound familiar? He was ridiculed when he first came out to the people and said he was going to do what he was going to do. He was mocked. He was laughed at. He was discouraged at every angle. Then his own people turned on him. They were enemies to him. They were complaining because they weren't getting what they want. People tried to kill him. There was plots to assassinate him. Catch it? Look at that, huh? But see, God was with him, and as long as God was with him, nothing in all of the universe was going to stop him from completing the work that God put on his heart. Sound familiar? Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? And it's encouraging. It's very encouraging because if you look at the book of Nehemiah, you look at our situation, and you look at who has been given a burden for our people. You could see it. It almost, this person, this leader that has been brought into our path, pretty much almost lost everything. And in that pain and in that struggle and in that trial, I see a change. I see a change for the better. I see a new humility. I see something different. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring because God's going to get his work done, and God is going to rebuild this nation. God is going to rebuild the wall like Nehemiah rebuilt the wall. You need the walls for protection. This nation has been attacked from all angles, from within, from out abroad. God is on it. God is on it. Be encouraged. Be encouraged, especially after what we've seen. You warned them in order to turn them back to your law, but they became arrogant and disobeyed your commands. They sinned against your ordinance of what you said. The person who obeys them will live by them. Stubbornly they turned their backs on you, became stiff-necked, and refused to listen. For many years you were patient with them. We're talking about the Lord. But the Spirit, you warned them through your prophets, yet they paid no attention, so you gave them into the hands of their neighboring peoples. There it is. Right? Immigration, wide open borders. But in your great mercy, you did not put an end to them or abandon them. See that God didn't abandon us. He's not going to put an end to this. For you are a gracious and merciful God. Now, therefore, our God, the great God, mighty and awesome, who keeps his covenant of love, do not let all this hardship seem trifling in your eyes. The hardship that has come on us, on our kings and leaders, on our priests and prophets, and on our ancestors and all your people from the days of the king of Assyria until today. In all that has happened to us, you have remained righteous. You have acted faithfully while we acted wickedly. Our kings, our leaders, our priests, and our ancestors did not follow your law. They did not pay attention to your commands or the statutes you warned them to keep. Even while they were in the kingdom, enjoying your great goodness to them in the spacious and fertile land you gave them, they did not serve you or turn from their evil ways. It sounds real familiar, don't it? But see, we are slaves today, slaves in the land you gave our ancestors so they could eat its fruit and the other good things it produces. Because of our sins, its abundant harvest goes to the kings you have placed over us. They rule over our bodies and our cattle as they please, and we are in great distress. So be encouraged today. Somebody who's trying to take a position of leadership in this nation and will step into that position of leadership is a Nehemiah. He's a Moses. He's an Aaron. He's a David. The book of Daniel, I believe, says he's a young lion. He's a young lion. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. Because this book is a very real book, and this book repeats itself all throughout history. All throughout history. And God has been faithful since the beginning. God has been faithful since the beginning because we have a contract with him in the Mayflower Compact of 1600s, where we made a contract between man and God before we stepped on this land. So be encouraged. God is on it. There is no doubt that God is on it, and that we are going to come out of this, and this nation will be great again. You can guarantee it. It's a guarantee. You all be blessed today. Talk to you.